Hi, how you going? That's an awful joke. I thought it was funny. Anyway, the concept of I. It is a very controversial entity and it behaves very badly. Let's take a closer look. So we're told that the definition of I is this. It is a number that when squared equals -1. So what is I exactly? Well, if we're going to solve for I, we'll just do this. Square rooting both sides, we're going to get plus or minus the square root of -1, right? Okay, so maybe I is some positive or negative value. I got an idea. You're not going to be doing that the whole video, are you? Sorry. Well, let's assume that I, the value I, is some positive value. All right, so what can we do with this? Okay, I got an idea. I is greater than 0. Let's multiply the left and the right side by I times I times I. So on the left, we're going to get I times I squared. On the right, 0 times I is 0. And what happens here? Well, we're assuming that I is positive and I'm multiplying left and right by I. So I'm multiplying left and right by a positive number. So the inequality is not going to flip. But I squared by definition is -1, which gives us -1 is greater than 0. That doesn't make any sense. Rubbish. That can't be right. Okay, let's try negative. Assume that I is negative. Okay, so I is less than 0. Let's do that again. Multiply left and right by I again. Okay, so on the left side we have I times I, which is I squared. And on the right we have 0 times I, which is 0. Okay, and what happens to the sign here? This time we're assuming that I is negative, so we're multiplying left and right by negative, which means the inequality has to change directions. And once again, I squared by definition is -1. We get -1 is greater than 0. Again, this is just garbage, so this can't be true either. So I can't be positive or negative. So maybe we can just assume that I is just the square root of -1 with no plus or minus, no sign. Okay, I've got another idea. I think I better stop now. Please do. Root 1 equals root 1, right? That's true. What did I say here? Okay, instead of 1, let's write it as -1 times -1. And then I'll split that up into 2 separate radicals, okay? Like so. And by the definition this time, I'm assuming this is true. Oh, I can say this is I times I, which is I squared, which is -1. But root 1 is 1. So this can't be true either. So this also must be complete trash. Which brings us back to here again. I've got one last idea. I wasn't doing that joke then, I was actually just saying I've got one last idea. I'm going to bring this 1 over here, so the -1 is going to become +1. I squared plus 1 equals 0. And I'm going to get even sillier. I'm going to write that again over here. I squared equals -1. I'm going to multiply both sides by -1 over here, which is going to give me minus I squared equals +1. Okay, I've got a +1 here and a +1 here. So I'm going to substitute this minus I squared into that +1. Let's see what happens. So we get I squared minus I squared equals 0. That makes sense. What can we do with this? The difference of two squares? Why not? Let's factor it. Okay, like a squared minus b squared is going to factor into a plus b times a minus b. Okay, and since that's a times in here, right, this times this equals 0, which must mean this equals 0, or this equals 0. Okay, that must be 0, or that must be 0. All right, here we go. We're getting somewhere now. So 2i equals 0. 2i equals 0, which gives us I equals 0? I got it! I equals 0. Now, before you get too excited, try that thing you did before, just to test it. Okay, so let's assume I equals 0. Let's do that trick from before. Multiply by I on both sides. So on the left, I times I squared. And on the right, 0 times I, 0. And by definition, I squared equals -1 equals 0. What? This is also trash and doesn't work. So I is not equal to 0 either. I've known I for over 20 years and I just don't know what it is. Okay, we've got one more lead here. I minus I equals 0. I minus I is 0i equals 0, which just gives us the identity 0 equals 0. So 0 times I, whatever it is, equals 0. That doesn't help us. We've reached a dead end. I do not know what I is. Do you have your own weird little wonderful trick you can do with I? Could you figure out an expression for it? If you did, let us know in the comments. By the way, here's an activity that you can try. Complete the following by simplifying where possible and see if you can identify some sort of a pattern. This is about the only predictable thing there is about I. Just to get you started off, I squared, by definition, this one is going to be minus 1. I cubed, well, to get I cubed from my square, just multiply by I. So I'll multiply this one by I. What do I get? Minus 1 times I is minus I. And to get the next one, I3 to I4, multiply by I again. What is I to the power of 4? And continue that all the way through to I to the power of 12. What's the pattern? Is there one? So in closing, remember that I is a very naughty entity. You should study it, describe it, but whatever you do, don't become friends with it because it behaves very badly. Add your answers to the activity into the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching.